all of a sudden I started seeing these images. I saw 9/11, I saw COVID-19, I saw wars, I saw Earth, I saw shattering, I saw all this chaos that we are going through now.
Today, I'm sitting down with Gary Wimmer, who's been a professional psychic and spiritual advisor for over 40 years.
The next series of pictures were 100 years from now. The plan is completely different.
Did you see any details about where we're headed? What will life look like once we're through this transition?
Diversity, but it'll be a warmer world. It'll be a hotter planet.
Hello, Gary. Welcome. Let's start at the beginning of your spiritual journey. When did you have your first psychic experience?
Actually, I think I started having them rather young. I was the third of 7 brothers. I had 2 older brothers. Sagittarius, born on December 8th, exactly a year apart, 45 and 46. Double and triple Sagittarius. Then I came along. November 8th, 47, over-hyper double Scorpio. So I grew up watching these 2 fight and compete, and I could always kind of tell what was going to happen. Some of it was common sense, but I developed a sense of intuition, sort of out of a defense mechanism. I didn't want to be their third base, you know?
Right.
And then we were raised Catholic. I was an altar boy. I learned the whole Mass in Latin. Deum qui latificat juventutem melem et spax domini et spiritu tuo. Amen. Yeah, at Catholic school, I learned Spanish and Latin by the time I was 12 years old. Started going to public school, started playing music at public school in about the 1963-4, I started playing lead guitar. Beatles came out. When I first saw them on Ed Sullivan, I knew all the riffs that George Harrison played. I felt so proud. I'm playing them the right way. So I never thought I'd be a professional musician. I went to college, and by that time, I'd pretty well left the Catholic Church. I never left God or Jesus. I just thought Catholic Church couldn't even deal with human sexuality still to this day. So you guys, when you grow up, I'll reconsider. Meanwhile, in college, I started reading a lot of Edgar Cayce, Madame Blavatsky, psychics, spiritualists. It got me very interested. A lady did a horoscope for me, said I had a lot of natural psychic ability. I moved to Austin to serve as a conscientious objector because I didn't want to serve in Vietnam. I worked 2 years at the Austin State School here in Austin. Got out, started traveling and playing music, and started giving readings with regular playing cards. And noticed that I had a real knack for it. You know, for some, I've got 6 brothers. None of them are interested in this. Most bands I played with weren't interested. But a handful of people I knew were getting interested in psychic ability, and I started practicing with regular playing cards. In 1977, I quit a band, needed some time off. Decided what to do about a relationship. It's hard to hold a relationship together when you're always gone. So I quit a band. This is in January 1977, January 31st. That whole day, I'd noticed things started feeling different, and I didn't know why. That evening, loaded my equipment in our duplex, said goodbye to the band for a while. I'm going to take a break. My roommates were there and some people from down the apartment a little ways, and we're all talking. I started picking up what people were going to say before they'd say it. And whoa. Later that evening, I tried to go to sleep, couldn't sleep at all, thinking all night long, sort of really strange feelings. I got up in the morning. As I was walking in the living room, my roommate's walking in reading the paper, and I saw the headlines through his eyes. He threw the paper down the table, and I'm just staring at it. I started having these premonitions of things. I'd walk down the street in a while, about 10, 11 o'clock to get some food, and I could feel people's thoughts, everybody in passing. That night, my roommate Brendan, who had been holding the paper, we went out to a club here in town, and band was too loud. I went in and sat in the bar room area, people playing pool. I started picking up people's thoughts. And then I looked at the door, and I thought I was outside in a place that about 30 minutes earlier, as we were walking in, I felt this premonition. Kind of blew it off because everything's getting kind of premonition by now. And this is 24 hours into this. So I'm sitting at the bar thinking about taking a break, going outside, and all of a sudden I'm standing outside, and these people walk right through me. And I freaked out and opened my eyes. Of course, I'm sitting at the bar stool. The door opened. They came through exactly as I just seen them. And my roommate came in from the bar. What are you doing, man? I didn't want to explain. I just said, I bet you $5 I can tell what the next group of people are dressed like. All right, $5, and I was correct. And then he thought I was talking to everybody, looked outside. Nope. This went on and on and on. I started picking up premonitions of things. And there was no way I could turn this off. I didn't know what was happening or why. I didn't know a button. I just know that, well, I can't turn it off, so I guess I better go for the ride, because what are the options? About 3 or 4 days later, it got so intense that I could no longer even remember what normal life was like. And I had no idea why this was happening. And at times I was terrified. And at other times I was so enlightened and empowered. It was like a very thin tightrope. But it wasn't real. It wasn't normal life. It wasn't simple. Everything was up to the minute cosmic revelation. I was seeing things in signs. I would think something, and I'd look out in the world, and I'd see a symbol of it being answered instantaneously through symbolism. I never even thought about being at that level. Never occurred to me. For example, one afternoon we went to eat. Brendan, my roommate, and I, and we're at a place called the Filling Station. It used to be here in Austin. And he's asking me, because he's real concerned, as am I, He said, what's going on now? How are you dealing with it? And again, it's easier to show than to explain, because I couldn't explain it. And I asked him if he knew either of these ladies sitting way over in the far corner. He looked around and went, no. Why? I said, I'm going to have the brunette write me a letter. What? Don't worry about it. So we started eating. He forgot about it. I kept thinking to the brunette, come over here, write me a letter. The guy in the blue shirt, write me a letter. I even zigzagged like a laser light that she could follow. Didn't look, didn't walk by there, just kept thinking that, because, again, I couldn't turn this off. I had to either use it or be overwhelmed by it. There was no, so I decided to use it sometimes, And 15 minutes later, the two ladies went walking by. First the blonde, then the brunette, and she threw down a napkin on our table. And in big, bold letters, she had written, why are you doing this to me? That freaked me out. It freaked Brendan out. It obviously freaked her out. And they were out of the restaurant. I thought about, man, I wanted to go ask her, what did you feel? But I was too embarrassed, I started realizing because of the state I was in, I could affect other people, one way or another, just by being in an altered reality. And this went on and on. Now, during this process, I kept feeling these monitors, guardian angels, something kind of watching over me. And I seemed to call them the monitors, or they seemed to name themselves that. I didn't see them, but I kept feeling them. And they were giving this reassurance in some sort of way. And there was a process that I felt like I discovered called verification. I had to continually verify that I was still physically in this world and hadn't been transported out. Why that thought? I didn't know. But all the people I was talking to, I went to music stores, ran some errands while this intensity is building up, and I kept feeling everybody sort of hinting at, where are you going? When are you going? I didn't. After a week of this, it got so intense that this is February 7th, 1977. I left my apartment, left my roommates. I was terrified, highly enlightened, but terrified, couldn't turn it off. Just, what do I do next? And as I walked, wasn't sure where I was going. I just walked and ended up walking toward Guadalupe Street in Austin, Texas here. And I kept feeling these monitors saying, keep your eyes on the light. Seek verification. Look for the light. So street lights, car lights, starlight, I always had to see a light for some reason. And by the time I got up to Guadalupe Street on Austin, Texas, right across from UT, I was just amped up. I was chills. I was screaming, not screaming, but crying, praying, pacing. A lot of people noticed me. They didn't know what to do, kind of had a circle around me. And then I stopped. Just couldn't take it any longer. And I just said, "Okay, please help." All of a sudden, out of the clear blue, the fear disappeared immediately. And I felt this warmth. And I look up and there's this huge light shining right down over my head. And I looked around and none of these people even acknowledged it. I looked up again and this light was coming from a crystal table, about that thick. And around this table were these monitors, the same ones I had felt. And I couldn't see their faces so much. They were kind of grayish, as if facial features didn't matter. But they had these long, kind of off grayish white robes. And this light was coming down from the palms of their hands as the 7 of them were sitting around this table. I was mind blown. And I remember thinking if I had a ladder, I could touch this because it was 6 feet above me, not 3, not 10. It was physically right there. None of these people noticed it, but they asked me, said, "Do you trust us?" One big voice like James Earl Jones. I'll never forget that deep monotone voice, real reassuring. And I had just been in such a terrified panic, and I wasn't panicked, but now what's going on? "Do you trust us?" And I said, "I don't find it. Do you trust us?" And I finally said yes. And within a second or two, I was involved head on in a speeding car collision. Wham! Car hit me. I'm outside my body. I see my body being tumbled over by the car.
You asked, we answered. One of the top requests I've received from you is to host live streams with guests so that you can come with your real life questions, interact with them on a personal level. Starting in October, we are hosting one featured guest per month in my membership to teach a live workshop followed by a live Q&A. So who's on the program? Robin Aisha Lansong, multiple near-death and out-of-body experiencer and survivor of the Rhodesian War, is our first featured guest this October. With her workshop being October 17th, she will be followed by Carrie Bennett, quantum health expert, Sarah K. Grace, the paramedic psychic. In December, Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan of Luminous Revolution in January, and my most highly requested guest, pre-birth experiencer Christian Sundberg in February. For as little as $10 a month, you can get access to all of them as they become available. Link is in the description, pinned comment, or right here. Now back to the show.
I see Austin, Texas shrink into a little dot. And I'm starting to expand outwards in all directions like a balloon. Not like an arrow, like a balloon. The whole earth went inside me. I could see all sides, north, south pole, from all directions simultaneously because it was within my psyche. My body's still in Guadalupe Street. All of a sudden, the whole planet starts collapsing within me, then galaxies, and I felt like I was expanding faster and faster and faster. And by this time, I had no idea of who I was. Completely forgot about the car accident, all this. And it was pure sensation, and it was beautiful. It was not fearful. It was the most beautiful voyage you could even imagine. I still didn't understand why or who, and I didn't even know it was me that was going through it by this time, but it was pure pleasure. And then it felt like I came to the edge of this universe. And the thing that struck me as I went through this realm of consciousness that seemed to name itself the colors. And it was a realm of consciousness that as our souls collapse inward at birth, because that's how they come into the mother at birth, and that's how they leave. That's not like an arrow. I saw this instantaneously. So as I expanded outward and outward and outward, I kept growing. I kept expanding, went through this realm of consciousness, the colors. And then this whole universe turned into a little dot in the sky with billions of other dots, billions of other universes, uncountable, infinite. And they all seemed to roll up into a big tunnel of light. That's really the most profound, beautiful, because it felt like a tunnel of light. I'm going through these swirling silver clouds, complete joy, complete thrill, but no awareness of me. And then I come out of this kind of like a cannon, like a shot out of in a circus, like a clown. I landed in this infinite blue void. It was infinite mind. And at that moment, I realized there was two possibilities. Either infinite mind existed, just as I was part of it then, and everything can possibly exist, or it wouldn't have existed and nothing would exist. There's no in between. And guess which one happened? And the more I sat in, I recognized this infinite creativity, civilization, time, space, the mechanics behind it. Within it, at the very core, was infinite love, which is one thing that most people who've had an NDE talk about. They understood that's the one, as different as the experiences are. One common theme is infinite love, and I was mind blown. It's most beautiful. But all of a sudden, it felt like I was witnessing it and not at one. And I was sort of being pulled back. And I went back through this tunnel of light, and I was pulled to somewhere. I didn't know where. I used the term spiritual gravity in the book I wrote, A Second Eternity, about the experience, because it felt like I was being pulled somewhere. And I was a little apprehensive because I liked where I was, even though I didn't know who I was. Collapsing into this universe, galaxies, planets, came into this solar system. I felt like I had some association with it. The closer I got to Earth, the more I felt like, wow, I do have some association with this planet here, this blue one, And then the closer I got to Austin, Texas, all of a sudden I started seeing these images. I saw 3 series of pictures, basically. One was a series of like newspapers or pictures, very fast, of everything we're going through. I saw 9/11, I saw COVID-19, I saw wars, I saw Earth, I saw shattering, I saw all this chaos that we are going through now in this world transformation, because we're going from the age of Pisces to Aquarius, and that's a 150-year gap as we go from one to the next, and we're right in the middle of that change, And it's not in vain. I saw all this chaos and crowd. And then the next series of pictures were of, 100 years from now. Pace, peace. The planet's completely different. It may be smaller. I don't know if there's 1 billion people or 30 billion. I don't know. There's so many possibilities, which we're seeing unfold before our eyes every day, here and now. And then I saw a third series of pictures of this guy who was a musician and a psychic. And I thought, maybe I know this guy. Bam. Then I saw my body. And I went, that's me. And I jumped into my body like a sense of relief. Like, wow, I'm in between 2 worlds. And now at least I'm back in one. Well, this guy with long red hair was leaning over me, screaming and hollering. He was the driver of the car. He was terrified. I tried to stop. Well, I'd just been to heaven and back. And this didn't bother me at all. This is kind of a disruption. I got to my feet and pushed him off, and he was all freaked out. He was trying to help me, but he tripped over backwards, and I didn't know what to do. I was just going to go home. I wasn't hurt. Too confusing, and all these witnesses, there's 20, 30 people watching me. And they said, no, man, just wait. The cops are going to come, and, I thought, yeah, I don't want them all chasing me down the alley. Cops and emergency EMS and, so I decided to wait there, and within a couple seconds, cops and police and ambulance, and they're all looking around for a body. And I'm the guy you're looking for, and all the people are pointing, yep, he's the one. They're mind blown. Were you the guy who hit? Yep. How are you standing? I said, like you are, my feet. I just been to heaven, man. This is just like a nuisance. I got a deal. And they asked me what happened. And of course, every time I tried to explain, it made less sense than the guy before asking me the same question. And they were just mind boggled. They didn't know what to do. I said, look, I'm not hurt. Can I just go home? No. I'm going to take you to the hospital, examine you, check you out, which they did. Took me to the emergency room, x-rayed me, not hurt at all, no glass in my head. No, it's like I didn't even look like I wasn't even the guy who got hit. And doctors are amazed. They x-rayed me, and we sent a cop up to talk to me because the driver had filed charges on me for assault because I pushed him back. I didn't want
What?
I'm not
After he
hurt.
hit you?
I'm blown. I'm trying to figure out what to do. I mean, I was mind blown. And his only defense after being involved in a head-on collision, hitting me, whose fault, whatever, could yet be decided. So he filed suit on me to protect himself. And the cop came to tell me that and said, I don't care, man. I've been to a different world. You know, I didn't care. So they slipped me off to a part of the emergency room, and about 30 minutes later, this gentleman came walking in, nice, handsome guy, and I'd had a premonition about him. During this whole affair, I'd had premonitions about all this, even the cops, the police, and the ambulance, but I didn't know why. You know, I had so many premonitions, I didn't know which one to pay attention to or whatever. But the cop was there. They talked to me. I told him, go ahead and sue me. I don't care. Then this man came in, like I was saying, and he was a psychiatrist. I knew all about him. And I started explaining to him about his wife and his kids, and he was mind blown. Have we ever met before? Have you been a patient of mine? No, sir. What's going on? How'd you know this? And I tried to explain, and he went, you know, I've heard about these sort of situations. I've never known anybody that's gone through anything like that. And I said, you do now. And he said, look, we can't just let you go home. We have to commit you to a psychiatric hospital, have you examined. Do you understand why? I said, yeah, I got no problem. I didn't care. You can do anything with me. I can't overpower all you folks. You know? I was in the custody of what I called the grounding agents, because that's what I felt like was happening. Cops, police, ambulance, family courts, judge, psychiatric hospital. And so they took me to jail. Finally, my brother, who lived in town, signed an order of protective custody to take me to psychiatric hospital. And I don't blame him. I wouldn't have believed me. In fact, everything was still symbolic when they took me to the protective intensive custody unit, PICU. As soon as they took me, I saw PICU. And to me, it was like, I see you. Everything was symbolism. I asked the staff for a bunch of envelopes and pieces of paper. And every day when my psychiatrist would come in at any unpredictable time, I would look up the clock and I'd see what time he's going to come in. I'd write it on a piece of paper, hand it to the staff, say, give this to doctor when he comes in. They would. He'd walk in my office. Oh, I'll read the letter later. No, look at it now. Okay, well, it's 10:37. What does that mean? Look at your watch. Exactly 10:37. Day 2, again, day 3. He didn't want to read these anymore. And I could understand. He was a real fundamentalist Baptist, good-hearted guy. But when I started talking about God and Christ and expansion and reincarnation, I mean, it just blew his whole Christian mind. But he did have 2 sons, and he was having problems with them, and I picked that up, and I started giving him advice because I grew up with 6 brothers. It's one thing I know is disputes between growing up teenagers. And even though he was mind blown by why I just brought this up out of the clear blue, he listened and he followed the recommendations I said. Because at the end of the week, they took me before a board of 10 psychiatrists. And they have to decide, or 8, I can't remember, some staff. They want to make sure that they can release me, or should they ask for another 10 days of mandatory commitment, you know? And so I got before them and I said, look, I know you folks don't believe what I said, but it's true. I ain't changing the story. In fact, you're doctors, you're psychiatrists, you're the people who know the mind, or sir, you ought to be asking me questions. You ought to be exploring what people like me know. You ought to ask yourselves about why all these patients that have psychiatric problems are also highly intuitive and spiritual. You ought to study that. And they were mind blown. They knew I was just too smart and I didn't belong there. And everybody in the hospital was calling me Mr. Smiles. I was playing guitar for them and doing jokes. And I'm an entertainer my whole life. As a kid, I had a chemistry set, a puppet show, dragged the neighbors in and charged money. So I was always sort of a ham. And they realized they couldn't keep me for another 10 days, so they let me out. And I went home, and it took a while to get over this. In fact, a couple months later, I had a slight relapse. Things started getting spooky. My roommates called my mom down. She took me to Brackenridge Hospital. They analyzed me again as getting over the edge, and I knew it. I could see it coming. This time they put me in the Austin State Hospital here. Again, I had no problem with it. I didn't know how to deal with what I was experiencing. The first time they gave me lithium carbonate at Shoal Creek Hospital. When I went to Austin State Hospital, they gave me Thorazine. Boy, God, I was so amped up. It took me 4, 5, 6 days for the Thorazine to even start mellowing me out, Now, I got out, and I was still going through a lot of sort of confusion about this. It was so intense. What am I going to do about it? Who's going to believe me? Who cares? My roommates, my friends, they saw this. They saw me at the hospital. They saw me go through this, predicting everything out of the clear blue all of a sudden. But I didn't know why I had it. And I kept asking my guides, the monitors who I saw, tell me, why me? I have to know. I have to know. And it was about 8 months later, sometime in the fall, I'm sitting playing my guitar out on my porch, and all of a sudden I felt the monitors around me. And I didn't see them, but I felt them, and they shot a light into my head like a laser. At the same time, these screen credits went rolling off like a Superman thing off in the distance. And the cars stopped, and the wind stopped, time stopped. And they said this almost instantaneously, but it felt like very stretched out, saying at the same time what I was reading. And it was basically, you had this experience because you always asked. You always wanted to know. You were an altar boy. You studied psychic ability or questioning, asking questions. Well, guess what? As Jack Nicholson might say, you could handle the truth, so we took you, brought you back. Any problem? And I was mind blown. And they said also, like, you were real amped up. I was bipolar. Well, I am. I've been bipolar my whole life. I learned how to deal with it. I'm the happiest person on the planet now, having gone through being the most miserable. Boy, life can teach you some stuff. But they said you got to watch your diet, you got to watch your temperament. But the things you saw, you will see, and you will see more. And with that, they disappeared. And then the traffic started again, and then the wind started blowing. That was the second most incredible day of my life. The first was when I went to Infinite Mind, which, man, thank you, universe. The second was when they explained to me how I got my ticket and why. And that pretty well completed a complete circle. And of course, from 1977 to now, a lot of these things I've seen came true. And in 2001, I was in Europe. I spent most of the 90s in Europe playing music. I was in a cruise ship, and a Swedish guy said, man, I think y'all been hit by a terrorist attack. I ran down to the crew room, the TV, and saw the second plane go through with all the people around me in blue uniforms. That picture I'd seen 24 years earlier. When COVID came out, I remember seeing this like an oil spill going across the whole earth. But it didn't feel like oil. And once COVID started, I went, And people have asked me, said, what do you see? And I said, to be honest with you, just turn on breaking news and any day. It's all this stir up in society. I saw so much. I can't try to pin it down or predict it. It's weaving around like this. But I also, at that time in 77, when I was going through the buildup before the car accident, I started seeing the interface between physical reality and spirituality as being at the quantum level, below quantum physics. That's the fabric where the non-physical enters the physical and basically creates the physical. I don't believe in accidents. or coincidences. I believe that the whole universe manifested by divine thought and individual desire to exist within that divine plan. Ain't no accidents. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the experience. And I started writing a book, A Second Eternity, about it. In 1980, I met a very gifted psychic who did readings by a method called Lithomancy. And I'd never seen it. And she did a reading for me, and I was fascinated because it was 16 stones and a little leather circle. And she had a class coming up in a week or two. I took her class, raining very heavily. I was the only person there, me and her. We wanted to both get home before the rain got worse. She gave me a 15-minute lesson. Good enough. I'll learn on my own. The next day, I took 16 stones, marked them, and started practicing. And I wrote a book about it for people who are interested in lithomancy. It's a very interesting psychic method tool. And so that's kind of a short basis of what I've been through, what I've learned, and hopefully all your viewers will recognize that this is a time of change. Don't let fear and panic freak you out. It's an opportunity to see all the flaws in ourselves and in our systems so we can fix them.
Gary, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I have so many questions for you about what you've seen and what you've been through. Going back to your near-death experience, those 7 monitors, do you now know who they are? Are they like your guides?
I've asked them many times, and I felt in 1980 when I met the lady Alice Worrell, who taught me this system. She's the greatest psychic I've ever known. And when I met her, the first question I asked, I was going through some issues then, but about these monitors, about these guides, what happened? And she described them as beings that have a certain lifetime of maybe like 150,000 years as we would see time. And they have a specific part in the hierarchy of the universe to serve a certain purpose, just like nurses and doctors and psychiatrists and the trash men. We all serve as units. And if you look at just the biology in our world right now, there's millions of species. And there's millions of levels of hierarchy of knowledge, and they were one, and they served this purpose, and they kind of said, we did our work, be at peace, and then they're moving on to help somebody else. So that's sort of my experience, and it took me a while to kind of recognize that. But I asked Alice, my friend who passed away about 10 years ago or so, to be my guide, and my 2 parents, my mom and dad, who passed away, I asked them to be my guides, and I asked Infinite Mind. So I created my Fantastic Four by asking my mom, my dad, this beautiful psychic named Alice, and Infinite Mind. That's my Fantastic Four. That's how you can find your guides. You don't have to know their name. Ask some high souls to help you. They will, because the one thing that always strikes me as one of the most fascinating things is they had to get my permission to take me to the higher level. Your guides cannot and will not walk over your free will, but they will tap you on the shoulder, and they will help you recognize, hopefully, coincidences and situations where you can go right and gain or go left and lose. You use your free will. The most powerful aspect of being alive, free will. We get to choose constantly how we look at the situation, or ourselves, or life, or anything. We can't change our genes or history or the past, but we can always change our perspective. And I think the near-death experience showed me the infiniteness of perspective. Yeah, I'm limited by genes just like you and everybody is, but here, spiritually, psychically, mentally, emotionally, with ethics, morals, values, there's no limitation. None. And that's what I learned, and that's what I hope to encourage other people constantly to tap into, because that's real power, and it's free, and it's there, and you got a ticket, but you got to show up at the gate. No.
Right. So I have to ask you, what was it like being in the eternal mind, that place of no separation?
Well, that pretty well sums it up. No separation. It's beyond human comprehension. It appeared to me as one infinite blue sky. And nothing was, so to speak, defined as a table, a chair, a planet. It was all one infinite creative mind that manifested over time in infinite possibilities. And as the world of physics has started considering infinite universes of multi-levels, I believe in that. Absolutely. I saw it right then. For example, if I raise my hand now this way, I created or helped create a universe in which I raised my hand this way instead of this way. That would have been a different universe. That's the power of creation we all have. And these infinite universes, possibilities, flow together rather seamlessly to our point of view. But every second, every thought, every quantum particle is in movement, is in change, is in vibration, is in creativity. And we do have a certain amount of control over where that force goes. What we do about it.
Right. Which is why when people see visions of the future, it's often in flux or in change. Like it can change depending on the decisions that we make day to day. Was that your experience too?
This hand or this hand?
Right.
No, that's true. It's a growing. It's not pre-written in stone. Now, certain stuff is written in stone. If you got a table and you push a pool ball and it gets up to here, unless you stop it, it's going to fall off.
Right.
But you can stop it too. What can we stop? What do we have control over? I think we're learning that. And I personally think we have a hell of a lot more than we ever give ourselves credit for having, much less bringing into play. Because we let fear and doubt and panic and all these curveballs upset us. And if we didn't go through curveballs, we wouldn't learn how to back. So every time you go through fear, it's a chance to become more fearless. Every time you go through doubt, it's a chance to seek certainty. And if you never went through those things, you'd never grow or evolve. We'd be stagnant, dumb, ignorant. Thank God for all these changes, the surprises, and showing us our flaws. It's a complicated world, but we're infinite beings. And if we tap into it, we can make the world a lot better place for ourselves and other people. Because there ain't a whole lot of neutral. You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. And you may go back and forth, minute to minute, year to year, whatever. Because change is the one thing guaranteed in life. But I always look at change as for simplicity. If you go out and learn how to play golf, you own that change. The other kind of change is all the stuff that we have to deal with, whether we saw it coming or not. And I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in cause and effect at every level. So therefore, the things we go through that kind of shock us and make us scratch our head, good. They're helping us grow, evolve, learn, think, reconsider, evaluate, have introspection, or do none of the above and trip over the same obstacle tomorrow in your hall like a box because you didn't move it out of the way. Free will. I'm an absolute believer that's the most powerful gift we have because we get to control how we love ourselves and other people. And by the way, as your sign behind you says love, people should always remember to love yourself. Okay? We all got pimples and we all got problems. We've all made mistakes. But you know what? That's why we came here, is to learn to juggle. Right? And you don't learn to juggle the first time you pick up 3 balls. You practice. Practice is everything. That's it, how you develop, how you grow, how you learn to love, how you learn about yourself. And because there's infinite possibilities, I encourage everybody to tap into them, use them. They're free.
I have to ask you about the visions of the future that you saw. You said we are headed towards the Aquarian age. And now I didn't quite hear you say how far in the future is that?
The ages are approximately, I'm not sure, 2,400 years, something like that. So there's a big gap between Pisces and Aquarius, and even different astrologers make different predictions on when one began. But it's not a clear line. It's not at all. It's a transition. And that's what we're going through now. Now, I do believe the Aquarian age is the age of really space, the sea, technology, the water bearer, education of mankind. And as I said, we're ways from that now. So we're having to plow through all this muddy terrain, fixing our holes in our boat, fixing ourselves, fixing our systems, because they ain't doing the fix themselves. You know,
Right.
we can pray to the universe forever, but it's not going to fix our dam. What it might do is help us get a team together to fix the dam. You know? I'm an optimist. And I'm an optimist because I realize nothing's in vain unless we see it as in vain. Nothing's without you can learn from everything all the time, the good, the bad, and ugly, unless you choose not to. And if you choose to learn from no matter what you go through, you're putting yourself on the right cycle, because there's things we can make happen and there's things we're going to go through that we kind of didn't know we had to. We didn't know we had that ticket. But a lot of things we gain in life, we learn by discovery, by taking a chance, you know. You go for your doctorate in physics. Of course, you don't know it all the first day you take calculus. That's why you go through it and learn.
Right. So right now we're in a transition period. And did you see any details about where we're headed? What will life look like once we're through this transition?
A lot of possibilities and a lot of diversity, but it'll be a warmer world. It'll be a hotter planet. It'll be more based on technology and sea. I do think we're going to see a lot of earth changes. I mentioned that once on a show about the Mississippi. I think is going to get wider. We might have like 2 continents. I can't say for sure, and I certainly don't want any havoc or chaos on anybody. But I can't prevent it, and I'm not 100% sure. I'm just telling what I know. But it goes along with a lot of other spiritualists and psychics are saying, pinpointing it all exactly what bridge will break on what day. Don't drive yourself crazy. You know, there's a hurricane. Take shelter. Don't try to sit out and figure out which tables are going to get blown away. Use your higher mind, your consciousness, to not be in fear mode, because this is a time of seeing the issues so we can fix them, not the time to be depressed because we got issues. Ta-da, welcome to being human. You know? Since when have we not had issues?
Right. I really, really love your perspective on this, because there is a lot of fear-based information in the spiritual space right now.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you didn't go through fear, you wouldn't learn how to become fearless. So I understand why a lot of people are going through fear. But we get to choose whether to stay stuck there like in cement or not. We get to choose whether to grow or see or not. And that's a constant situation. So a lot of people are trying to convince other people of this and this and this and this is the meaning of that. It's all happening at once. There's different philosophies, incarnations, possibilities. So yeah, we're all part of this big smoothie. You know? Okay, maybe there's a little cactus in the smoothie. Welcome to life. Right? But it is what we're going through. We're all here. We might as well commit ourselves to learning and growing, because the other options, in a simple word,
right.
Why look at everything that can screw you up? You know, and I've been so thoroughly depressed in my life. I know what that's like. Seeing everything as a confirmation that you're screwed and your life is screwed and everything is screwed. Why look for that confirmation? I'll look for the confirmation that, hey, I can get unscrewed. I can make things work. I can grow and evolve. So yeah, choose love. Choose life like the plants behind you. Choose the younger you like your book.
Yes.
Choice. A lot of change. I can't begin to predict it all. But again, you can see it every day on the news and real life. But it's not to torture us. It's to show us what plants need to be watered so you can water them.
So do you see us heading in a direction of having more peace and harmony in the world than we do now?
Oh, definitely. We're going through the nasty, trying times. I'm an optimist, but I don't have much control really over what other governments and people might do. I hope to God we don't have a nuclear war. I felt like during the 80s, a lot of the Atlanteans from Atlantis came back and pretty well de-triggered the Cold War, so we didn't nuke each other then. I think we're going through another phase of that now with the rise of like the Harris consciousness, the new hope, rather than the fear and the death so yeah, I think we're headed toward a more peaceful world, a more enlightened world, but it ain't next week. And between now and then, who knows? Who knows? I don't try to predict it, but I do try to encourage people to, no matter what happens, if you're dead, you're in heaven, problem solved. If you're alive, you can still learn, grow, and evolve. So you can make it a winner regardless of what we go through. And you do that by choice, by decision. You choose, you put your mentality, your perspective, your intentions into peace, happiness, creativity, give me help, universe. You meditate on those things, and they'll start coming into your play in your life. You meditate on how crappy everything is, screwed up is, fear and panic, and they're taking my money, then you'll bring that into your life. Just like baseball, you get up to the plate and you think, oh, I'm terrified, I'll probably strike out. Mm-hmm. You will. Life will prove to you right then the power of your own intentions. Maybe in a week or so, you'll connect the dots and go, oh, I think I'll get up there and knock the ball out of the park. And guess what you'll do? Knock the ball out of the park.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Cold War. Are you familiar with Howard Storm?
I know the name.
Yeah, he had a near-death experience, and his near-death experience happened during the Cold War. And he was shown at that time that God and the angels were working to end the Cold War and turning people's hearts to love each other. And he said he didn't believe it at all. He just couldn't envision that happening at the time. But I think it just goes to show, like what you're saying, we have so much help and support.
Mm-hmm. Higher mind, good principles, godliness, morals, values, virtues. That's where we came from. Mm-hmm. But we came here with free will. We can throw all that out and eat garbage and be pigs too. And many human beings have chosen to be that. Hitler might be an example. I can't imagine in the reincarnation scheme of how he ever pays that back. But it's beyond my math. And I asked my friend Alice one time, great psychic. I asked her so many questions about life and progress, and even the anthrax letters in 2000, 2001, the fake anthrax letters or whatever it was they were mailing out. She told me all about the people who had it and were mailing those out. She told me all kinds of things, but she told me they were temporary guides that helped me learn this and then moved on. And then I think the thing that she confirmed to me most is the fact that we all have so many different intertwining lives. She told me about 30 different lives because we became very personal friends. Musicians, family, brother, lovers. And these are 30 or 35 different people in different lifetimes, in different situations, in different cultures. And what she picked up about that was very analogous to what I was going through here and now in this lifetime. Certain very similar connections over and over and over. And now that she's my guide, sometimes I pick that up through her because she was very good at that. But it just convinced me that there are no accidents and coincidences. Everything is an unfolding of decisions or lack of decisions. And we have the creative power to do that, to create a path. We can't uncreate somebody else's mess, and we can't be somebody else. But we have been so many people and we're connected in infinite mind that if we tap into that creativity and that flow and that personal magnitude experience, power, if we tap into that rather than fear than doubt, then we turn on the real spirituality that works in real life. Because we grow spiritually to get better results here, now, not to get God coming down and give us a gold star in our head, to get better results. And it's achievable. So I'm an optimist. I think we're clearing out a lot of the outdated systems and fears and doubts. But humankind often learns from their system breaking down before they create another one. We're not always the most visionary about what's around the curve, you know.
So on that note, what can the average person do, like myself or anybody who may be watching, to help us ensure that we have the most peaceful transition possible? Like what can we do practically to head towards a better world?
Well, you said it right there. What can we do? We can only do our individual part. We can't control somebody else from, we're going to walk on the flowers and kick the mailbox. Well, fine, can't stop it. But what we can do is love, and love yourself. Love the situation you're in. It ain't no accident. It's an accumulation of decisions. Some you forget about, some you know. Love the situation, love yourself, love other people, and meditate. Spend 5 minutes a day, deep breathing, laying down, sitting down, turning your mind off. If you have to think of a mantra, a color, a sound, learn to turn your mind off. Because if you close your eyes, we stop all the light. Same thing. Subconsciously, our conscious mind can stop our subconscious from pouring through, and it does most of the time, so we can function in our normal daily lives. But real power, it's in the mind, it's in the heart. There's our conscious mind, our subconscious, and then the superconscious, infinite mind. And we get there by going through the subconscious. So meditation is a way of turning off your worrying, analytical, constantly chattering, logical, rational mind for 2 minutes a day. Just turn it off for 2 minutes a day so you can recognize that, wow, there is an on and off switch. Number one. Number two, you can use it. Number three, when you allow yourself that few minutes of just peaceful silence, thinking about a mantra or a sound or color or nothing, rather than everything, that will plant seeds in your subconscious that you may not even know. But days, weeks, hours later, new shrubs come up. Ta-da! Ain't an accident. Because you tuned into the magic soil of your own mind, heart, spirit, and creativity. It's all there, folks. And this is from someone who spent many years highly depressed, highly terrified. Thank God for that experience, because I learned the other side of it, and it's beautiful. Feel empowered. Love yourself.
Well, Gary, I love your message. And I'm going to close out by asking you 3 short questions that I ask everybody. So the first one is, what is your deepest passion?
Probably in general, making sure that I'm contributing something positive or things positive without ego or expectations, or, do it for the highest good. I hope to stay on that channel forever. Highest good for all.
What is your highest joy?
Being of service, effectively, happily, graciously, and hopefully inspiring other people that they can also be of service to themselves and to other people even more than they imagine.
And finally, if you could give one message to every person on the planet, what would it be?
Have faith. 2 words. Have faith. Because when you start having faith, it's the same faith that now allows you to get up on baseball and knock the ball out of the park instead of relying on, I'm scared the pitcher's going to throw the balls out. Have faith that you knock it out of the park. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in humankind. It doesn't make you stupid. In fact, if anything, it makes you see things clearer. When you have fear, you're looking this way. You're not seeing. I look at fear and doubt and the issues we go through in life. It's like a fire alarm. You get feared, afraid of something, it's a fire alarm. Go look around, find the fire, put the fire out. then cut the alarm off. It served its purpose. Don't live with the damn alarm in your head. Go fix what it's pointing out, and it served a very good purpose. It's a win-win. Thank you, fire alarm. Thank you, fear. Thank you, doubt. Now I don't have to deal with you that same way. It's a learning process, everything. People have no idea how much knowledge, power, learning they can tap into, but we do it by choice and practice.
Gary, would you like to share with people where they can find you, a little more about your books, and anything else that you have going on?
Sure, thank you. You can go to Amazon.com and you can find both my books on Kindle or Amazon. This is A Second in Eternity. It's about my near-death experience. It's even got all the police records in it that I was talking about earlier. This is Lithomancy, The Psychic Art of Reading Stones. That's a book I wrote about the process of reading stones. They're both available on Amazon or Kindle. If you want to contact me for a reading, go to lithomancy.com, LITHOMANCY.com, or go to GaryWimmer.com, GaryWimmer.com, and there's a psychic link there. I'm an actor and a writer and a musician and a psychic. And so if you click on the psychic link at GaryWimmer.com, you'll get to the same place that you would if you went into lithomancy.com. It's got the instructions on what I do, how to contact me. And if you want to email me, GW@GaryWimmer.com, GW@GaryWimmer.com. That's the best way. Leave me your information and your phone if you want me to get back with you, of course. Sometimes I get booked up quite a lot, sometimes not so much, so it's kind of up and down. But I will respond, and just be patient. I may get with you in 2 hours, it may be a week, but to be patient, I'll get back with you.
Wonderful. Gary, thank you so much. This has been such an uplifting and inspiring conversation. I will have your links in the description so people can check those out. Thank you again.
My pleasure, my dear. Stay inspired. And Melissa, keep turning on the light for yourself and other people. God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for watching and listening. Your views, likes, comments, and shares truly make the biggest difference in supporting this channel. Don't forget to check the show notes for all the links to today's guest, as well as my links. You'll find me on social media at Love Covered Life, my website, lovecoveredlife.com, and the Be a Guest link for anybody who would like to be a guest on the channel. I have great news. Love Covered Life podcast is coming available on audio podcast. You can find it wherever you listen to your audio podcasts.